Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today on this episode, let's talk about whether or not you should use a trailer, so a soft plastic, maybe a soft plastic swim bait on the back of your spinnerbait to get more bites. This is a question that I get asked a lot actually over the years, and I guess I have kind of a different outlook on whether or not you should use a trailer, but I do have one situation that I really am pretty positive that it helps get more bites. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. This is actually one of the better times of the year to throw a spinnerbait, like the Z-Man sling blades. I love the colder months for fishing a swim bait or a spinnerbait, and so I've done a lot of spinnerbait fishing this time of year, and a lot of the time I'm going to be slow rolling these baits on steeper banks, 45 degree and bluff banks that have some type of cover. Whenever I have like a laydown on one of those banks, that's when I'm going to be picking up a spinnerbait, because it's one of the best techniques for being able to fish that sort of cover and fish it very slow and thoroughly while still getting a reaction strike from those fish. So spinnerbait is a really good tool this time of year, but it's also really good shallow, all year round. In fact, a spinnerbait was my original shallow water power fishing tactic that I love to throw all the time. I absolutely love throwing a spinnerbait. Back in California, we used to just call them blades. And it was just one of those techniques I always had tied on when I was fishing, something like the Afterbay, which is a small, shallow fishery in Northern California near Paradise, California, or, the Delta or something like that. So, but then the chatterbait became popular, and I started fishing a chatterbait in a lot of the situations that I used to throw a spinnerbait, and also a swim jig. Those are the two techniques that kind of replace the spinnerbait for a lot of my shallow water power fishing tactics around, shallow cover. So when I was fishing around the shallow cover with a spinnerbait, I really didn't like having a trailer hook on the back, or a trailer on the back of my spinnerbait, because I liked always fishing a spinnerbait with a trailer hook. So the trailer hook system that I like to use is the Hayabusa 929. It's the WRM 929. I'm actually going to put a affiliate link in the description below. To me, it is by far the best trailer hook system out there. I've tried the trailer hooks that they have. You have aquarium tubing put over the hook to keep the hook on there. I've used pretty much everything, but Hayabusa comes with these little rubber beads that are kind of like bobber stops, and I think that they work the best. It's a really high quality hook, and I just love it, and they come in some really good sizes. So I didn't throw a lot of trailers because a trailer hook was so important to me. And so it seems like trailer hooks tend to tangle on whatever trailer you put on the back of a spinnerbait. And to me, it really didn't need much else on the back of the spinnerbait. That skirt that was billowing really had a good profile. It looked like bait fish, along with the blades flashing and all that. It looked like a school of bait fish. So for me, when I'm fishing around shallow cover, and moving fast, got the trolling motor on high, and I'm just casting to shoreline cover and moving quick, I don't like to use a trailer. Okay, and that's because I think the profile of a spinnerbait works by itself. But that may be personal preference, but it also has to do with function, in that the trailers just constantly get snagged on the trailer hooks, which I think are really important. I don't ever throw a spinnerbait without a trailer hook unless it's during practice for a tournament. However, over the last probably, 5 or 6 years, I've learned that when you're slow rolling a spinnerbait, like I was at Grand Lake a few years ago, actually my rookie season on the FLW Tour, I finished third at Grand Lake. I was fishing a modified Z-Man sling blades with a single number 6 Colorado blade on it, and I put a spinnerbait or a trailer on at that time, a little swim bait, along with the trailer hook. Yes, it still got snagged, But when it's slow rolling, I really like a trailer for a couple reasons. Number one, when you're slow rolling it, I like the fact that even if the blades are having a hard time continuing to spin, the tail is still moving. So there's some of that movement. And number two, a trailer will allow me to get the drag that I need to slow this bait down. So when I'm really just cranking very, very slowly, that trailer is allowing that spinnerbait to stay in an orientation that I think is more conducive to getting bites. So I really like the drag function of a trailer if I'm slow rolling a spinnerbait. Now, that also depends on how deep I'm trying to get it. If I'm really trying to get a spinnerbait down to 20 foot or something like that, you may not want to put a trailer on the back of the spinnerbait because it's too much drag. But in most scenarios, and I just fished a tournament, Toyota Series on Dale Hollow in 2022, and the second day of the tournament, I started throwing a spinnerbait, and I was slow rolling it with a trailer, and I was getting... I actually had a limit. The first day I bombed. I wasn't even throwing the spinnerbait at that time. The next day, it just felt right. So I threw it right off the bat, and I had a limit before the last boat blasted off. That's how good it can be with that little trailer on the back. So that's kind of the scenario that I really prefer having a trailer on the back of a spinnerbait, is when you're slow rolling it and you're trying to just really creep it along. But if I'm fishing it shallow, I just use the trailer hooks and just let the skirt kind of do its thing. But it's really up to your personal preference. I will say this, my favorite trailer, boot style swim bait trailer that I've found over the years is actually not even a bass bait. Okay, it's the Z-Man Trout Trick, which is, designed for, sea trout. And it's got the perfect little tail on it. It's a really good thinner profile. It doesn't really beef it up too much. And it has a great little, swim to it. So that is my favorite trailer overall for spinnerbaits. But there's a lot of great trailers out there. So that kind of comes down to personal preference and what you're trying to achieve with it. But anyways, guys, just wanted to mention that. I do want to say one more thing. As far as tackle that you want to use, if you're trying to slow roll your spinnerbait this time of year with a trailer on the back, it's really important to use a slower gear ratio reel, in my opinion. I use a 6.6 to 1 gear ratio. Usually I'm using 15 or 17 pound test, depending on what type of cover I'm fishing around. And I like a Braze X a lot from Seagar. And as far as the rod, I like to use a 7.3 medium heavy Versa series rod. So I've got all those links in the description below. So if you're interested in any of that tackle, check it out. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Let me know in the comments how you like to fish a spinnerbait and when you like to use a trailer on the back of it. So thank you for watching. I'm going to see you out on the water. Trust the process.